Three, two, one. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel with me, the Reactor. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I just came off of recording my video where I reacted to the official trailers for Spider-Man both in black and white and True You edition. So go ahead, check the video out if you're interested in it. That's on the channel. Um, and yeah, let's get right into it. So I've never really done this before, and I've never talked about Invincible in this format. And I think I may have explained a little bit when I reacted to the Thrag teaser, which I think is the only piece of Invincible content really I've ever made a video about. So this is going to be different, where I've reacted to a couple of shows, but not that many, mainly just some Marvel stuff. But I think I have to give it to Invincible this time because I couldn't do season 3 because if I did, it would have been kind of too late. With season 4 out now, I think it makes most amount of sense. And I waited a little bit to release this video, right? So I'm going to get right into it. So I'm only going to be talking about season 4. I'm going to rate each episode individually, and then based off of that, add up the rating, divide by 8, and boom, that's my final score. I'm going to do something like that, all right? So before I talk about season 4, episode 1, picking up where season 3 left off, the main highlights of that season, of course, were the the Invincible War, and then Rex dying, and then Mark and aka Invincible having to fight Conquest. His brother showed up, Adam Eve showed up as well. Huge fight, showdown happening. And yeah. Cecil comes in and was like, yeah, no, we ain't gonna kill him. We can study him, we can use him. It might be helpful to have him locked up, but yeah, no. Terrible idea. Terrible idea. So, season 4, episode 1. I remember there is a song that plays at the starting, which I believe was called If I Get High, right? Nothing But Thieves, right? That was the song, right? So yeah, that's what we saw playing at first, and I think it just helped to really set the tone of the season. Where I think Invincible Inc. is the name of the company that Mark and Eve had started, where they're doing their own. I guess I honestly at first kind of forgot when Invincible Inc. was. I'm like, okay, they kind of started their own like company, I guess, to make some money, where they go out and save people, and that's I guess separate from like the Guardians of the Globe and you know, different from all the other um, stuff going on. So they're over there fighting crime, and I guess Oliver's trying to help out as well, but he's at that teenager age. He aged up a lot. I remember seeing him in the regular trailer, and I'm like, is that Oliver? Because he's less purple now, and he's a lot older. So I was confused at first. Thankfully, I was correct, right? I was not wrong about my prediction, and yeah. So he was there, and I believe this is the episode where they're fighting crime, and I think this is when the Flaxons, whatever, show up. What are they called? Those annoying pink thingies. And I believe they're trying to like stop them once and for all. And I think Robot and Monster Girl get teleported in. And the portal gets closed, and Mark ends up killing the guy who got like infected. The Sequids, yeah. Like squids, but Sequids, yeah. So he kills him, and of course, in this particular episode, he's donning his blue and black suit outfit color, right? So then Cecil comes talk to him, saying, because at the end of the last season, he said, if someone like, really wants to like hurt anyone close to me, like, um, I wouldn't have a problem killing them, right? So yeah, he kind of like does that from the first episode itself. He kills the guy, and I believe that's how the episode ends, right? Um, yeah, overall, pretty decent episode. Quite a bit going on. Then we get to episode two, right? Where at the start, him and Cecil have a little chat. Cecil tells Mark, like he understands why he did what he did, but it's not like him, right? Like, he was just ready to do so, I guess. Though I don't think what other characters were expecting, and I believe it was, um, who was that guy? There was that guy who took forever to like they had some way to like stop all the bad stuff from happening. You can tell like first episode was all right. Didn't care too much for it. But for what it was, I thought it was okay. So I think I ended up giving it like 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, that's what I was doing. For episode two, I thought it was more interesting because like him and Cecil have that little chat about how Mark was ready to kill, and Cecil's like, it's not like you to do so, but Mark's like, well, maybe it should be. So he's having this sort of like, I guess, kind of like moral dilemma going on, and Cecil's trying to like back him off, saying, like, um, he shouldn't be the one calling these shots, but what did you expect? Like I normally like. Here's the thing: when him and Cecil were kind of like against each other, that was like one of the few times I was kind of on Cecil's side. Like I kind of understood why he did what he did. Um, though I think he went a little too hard on Mark. I think it's because they just wanted some conflict, and this was one of the laziest ways to do so. I never really liked having them like going against each other. I thought it was just pure stupidness. Because eventually they're gonna be back together. Like they could have done it maybe a more cool way, but I never was too fond of it. And a side note, so like the first three episodes all came out on the same burst. I watched the first episode, and then after some time went into episode two, right? And I really dug this one, right? Because we got Nolan's actual backstory, right? Because we went back to Planet Viltrum when it was in way better condition back then, right? And we see him and like he's talking to some like Viltrum kids, right? Viltrumite kids. Yeah, because the planet's name is Viltrum. Keep forgetting. She's talking to some Viltrumite kids, and his parents come and like, alright, you're old enough. Time to get a beat down, man. You're at that age. And I don't know if it's true or not, but like his parents didn't really seem to care for each other that much. Like they only do it just so like, they can mate and like keep the population going, I guess. Is that like all they believe in? Like no actual relationships and stuff. Maybe that's why Nolan like he never really experienced anything like that back on Viltrum. So like when he was with Debbie, it was like kind of different experience for him. I don't know what it was like between him and Andressa. I'm sure it must have been a mistake or something. But yeah, we get Nolan's backstory, and he's explaining everything to Alan about what's going on, what happened, and I think this is the first time maybe we hear about um, the Scourge virus coming into play, being used and wiping out. I mean, it took his dad out, so like he was the one who had to like remove him from I think whatever spaceship they were on, right? Because it was getting um, really crowded or whatever to keep them there. And at a certain point in time, like there were so many like dead bodies of Viltrumites just around the planet that you would think it's something else, but there's just so many of them. It's like creating just like circular layer around the planet. So he explains the story to Alan, and Alan's like, he was kind of feeling bad at him at first, right? And Alan's like, wait a second. So you're telling me you were going across the galaxy just so like, you could increase the number of Ultramites that are out there in total? And Nolan was like, yeah, I guess that was my original mission, but then I went to Earth and had a different experience. And then Alan asked him a pretty interesting question. Like, what would you have done if like Mark never ended up getting his powers? And Nolan simply says, I'm not sure. I think I saw a comment earlier saying that maybe he would have stayed for a bit. I mean, maybe he would leave eventually, or who knows. But yeah, no, I think the way they really developed his character, I think, is really interesting. And I was waiting for a season like this to come out because I never really thought Nolan was going to get a redemption after what happened in season one. But then we get an episode where he's in season two and, like, you know, kind of like going through some stuff. But yeah, he's there. And what else happens in this episode? Him and Cecil have a little chat. A little bit of stuff is going on Earth as well, which I never really cared for that part. Um, I guess it's all right. I think eventually Oliver ends up joining Invincible Inc. because like Mark and Eve have quite a bit of other stuff that they need to do. I think Mark even eventually goes and meets Eve's parents once in a while, but his dad is just something else. I think some people are saying he may be one of the worst like people within the entire show. I kind of got his point where he's the type of guy where he wants to like really care and provide for his family, and I guess in a way he does care for Eve, but obviously like if she didn't have powers and if she like lived a traditional like regular normal life, he would have definitely liked her more. But ever since all of this happened and she really embraced, I guess, this side of her, um, yeah, I mean when she was injured, her dad sort of did did care for her, of course, but yeah, I think he really left Mark with something to think about. I guess after their little chat, being like, like, does you being with my daughter make her more safe or just put her in more danger? I think maybe something like that. I don't know. But I don't know what dude's problem is. Like nothing's really gonna change no matter. Like you're kind of the one who has to adapt and accept this. But yeah, no, it's really something. I think Mark would he would easily have a much easier time. Like him and Eve like spending time with. Well, the only problem with them having dinner with Nolan and Debbie is what's going on between Nolan and Debbie. So I guess that's sort of the issue there. But maybe if we get that resolved, they can just meet up at their house more often, I guess. No, man, but it won't be the same without Paul, that's for sure. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. So episode two. Overall decent episode. Again, I like the Nolan backstory stuff. I liked him and Alan. I think this is where they're also going to try to like recruit some people as well, getting ready for the Ultramind War, finding some people who might be helpful, like Space Racer, Tech Jacket, seeing where they're located. I don't think Space Racer was too happy to see Nolan at first. And yeah, just some other people like planning, doing strategies. Thetis was really pushing, this idea of, we need to get all of this stuff set up. Like he was trying to like really tell Nolan about, you should join our war. Of course, he was hesitant at first because he's kind of going against his own people, were the ones who set out, like who told him what his mission was and what he needed to do. I remember when season one came out, right? And the very last episode, I think, was called "Where I Really Come From," right? And that the whole time I thought it was about where Mark really comes from, right? And that maybe he comes from a different place that's like different from the place Nolan told him about. I don't know, but I think in reality it was more so about where Nolan really comes from and how Ultramite was not really what it seemed like, I guess. Anyways, yeah, we got a couple of scenes between Debbie and Paul, but yeah, we kind of know where that's heading, I guess. But he seemed like a really just cool guy overall, and yeah, honestly, just one of the best humans in the entire show. Like, he himself doesn't have too much growth, I guess, because maybe he's already perfect. But I guess in a way, he's helping other characters grow in their own space, like Debbie, and like he's been very helpful with the kids and all of that. So yeah, quite a bit of stuff going on there. Hmm. But overall, decent episode. Really enjoyed that one. I think I ended up giving that episode I think a 9 out of 10. Was it a 9 out of 10? Trying to remember. I think it was an 8.5, yeah. Who am I trying to fool here? Still a good episode though. Really enjoyed it. But we're not quite there yet. And then episode 3, I gotta get some air. I thought it was an okay episode. It was the one with the dragon. I think in my opinion, maybe the weakest of the first 3. Some cool stuff happening, but really nothing that great. So enjoyed it, but nothing too much. Like again, I never really cared for the whole Mr. Liu dragon stuff. Oliver was trying to help out, but dude, you are not ready for a mission like this. Like from the starting of the episode, I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. I just don't care for these characters at all, man. I don't even know what their names are. You know, like he's strong. He's like concrete or something. I don't know. Like he's very protective of his family. I guess cool. It's kind of reminding me of like some of the Spider-Man like shows, like that sort of flavor, I guess, whenever I see the guy, but I don't know. Like a lot of tech powers here, overpowered people, but you know, obviously Oliver can't handle the dragon, and especially when he turns into a PNG, because that's definitely something. But no, eventually Mark comes in, stops him, and then he's like, "Yeah, we're done here," and then he goes back and joins the evil people. Woo! Awesome. All the families are reunited back together again. And then, of course, we know that Eve's having some problem with her powers, and then at the end, we kind of figure out why. So, yeah, in my opinion, the weakest of the first 3, but overall, solid 7. Solid 7. That's where I was at with the first 3 episodes. Then comes season 4, episode 4, Herm. And I'll be honest, you guys, during the first half of the episode, I was kind of falling asleep in a way. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? And I didn't want to feel like the only one who thought this was just like somewhat of a boring episode. So then, like for example, Agatha all along, I couldn't get through it, you guys. I'm sorry. I know I reacted to the first couple of episodes. I didn't finish watching the show, but I knew I could get through it. Eventually, it picked up a bit, so I was like, okay, cool. We got some actual stuff here, you know, with like Invincible Mark being pulled into like this demonic hellish world, trying to help out Satan, I guess, whatever the plot was there. I don't know how much of this is in the comics, so maybe you guys can help me out there. But you know, he's strong, he's powerful, but then he kills this guy, but then he comes back to life. He's not dead, and it goes on forever. I remember there were some other like cool, powerful people as well in this episode and other episodes who we didn't really get to explore or learn too much about. Like anytime Mark sees a bad guy being like, "No, stop! I'm trying to help." He's like, "Yeah, I've heard that before." All right, who's next? Because we can't trust anyone, eh? Yeah, I don't know. I always wonder what would happen if him and Angstrom Levy actually worked together at the start. So many cool things could have happened. Cause like dude was smart. I'll give him that. But he was also dumb. He was literally teaming up with the like invincible like variants, whatever you call them, who were the ones who kind of did more damage to him than Mark did. But hey, you know what they say? My enemy is my friend. All right. Overall, I didn't hate it that much, but of course, from the first 4, it did bore me the most. But I didn't think it was that bad, so 6.5 out of 10. Um, so, hey, I'll say that's not bad. It's not bad for what it was. But the second half is really where it picked up. Oh, and then of course the ending, where Eve's about to tell Mark that I guess she's pregnant, and then his dad shows up and is like, "Hi, son, wants milk?" No, of course that's not what happens. Um, he shows up and Alan's there, and they're like, "It's time for war. We're here," and they just look like 2 pictures, I guess. But overall, not a bad episode. Um, Towards the ending of it. Season 4, episode 5, Give Us a Moment, I thought was a great episode because it was a huge joke. Came out on April 1st, you guys. So, what a laughing matter, I know. 0 out of 10, no, I'm kidding. you've got to give it some credit, okay? This is really where the show is picking up. The first 4 episodes or whatever, but 5 through 8, when we're really getting into the Viltrumite War happening, I'm like, okay, fine, we're getting somewhere. A lot of setup is happening here, right? They're about to leave and go, so Mark's getting ready, and I guess we also get a moment where Nolan talks to Debbie. So that was pretty much earlier on in the episode, and I thought that was done really well. Like the whole confrontation scene that the show was really building up towards, and we were waiting for that to happen. And yeah, I mean, like, I did kind of laugh when Debbie asked, "Am I still your pet?" I know it was a huge moment because callback to season 1, but I'm like the memes, like they mentioned pet so many times. If you know that specific one I'm talking about. So that was the only time I laughed. But other than that, I'm like, wow, this is being done really well. Because I know in the comics, right, one of the flaws of the comics, I guess, is Debbie's sort of arc is kind of rushed, accepts Nolan kind of quickly, and their relationship, keeps going. Whereas in this one, I'm like, okay, they're not like getting together again. Like, can we at least talk to each other now, right? And I think this is the first time they've ever talked to each other, really, I guess, since the ending of the first season, right? And yeah, I mean, this was something, definitely for sure, right? Because the writing between all of it was done well, and she tells him, you're the one who killed the man I love, and yeah, like just the writing for that was awesome, was perfection there. And then I think they have like and then I guess Oliver is gonna come along as well because he helped out fighting Conquest for sure. Yeah. And I guess he wanted to go because I guess in a way he never really viewed his dad in a negative light. Like he was always kind of helpful for him, I guess. He never really saw him ever really do anything bad other than hearing about what he did, right? But he never like physically experienced it, right? So and of course the only thing which kind of made him upset later on was um, Nolan telling Debbie that Andressa was a mistake. Because I think what ended up happening was he ended up going to the planet where the Thraxans live and helped them out, and I guess they made it, and yeah, he was born. Because I guess she was gonna die because she doesn't live too long, and yeah, that was the whole history there. But no, I guess he did care for her in a way, in a weird bug, grasshopper way. But yeah, that happened, and then yeah, I was just kind of like saying goodbye because we're about to get ready for what's to come. And what else we got? Alan's there as well. I guess we're getting ready to start the mission. Battle Beast also hops on board. Thaddeus is sort of doing a lot of strategic planning, trying to figure out, what all needs to get done. And yeah, I mean, just overall a great episode. Really enjoyed that one. Give us a moment. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, that's about it. And I don't think Nolan was happy to see Oliver hop on board. But, that's, I guess, what ended up happening. And that's it. And I remember Cecil was saying this is the first time the planet has been Viltrumite free in, like, I forgot, like, X number of years or whatever. But, yeah, I guess that's a cool thing. Less powered individuals to deal with. And, again, we haven't really gotten too much of the Guardians of the Globe overall in this season, so for what it was worth, it was okay. So yeah, I mean, I forgot what I was gonna rate this episode. Um, I, I like this one, you guys. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. Alright, episode 6. You look horrible. Oh my goodness. This is the one where we get Thrag, right? We get Thrag in this one. He shows up, and I believe Conquest is also there, right? In this one. Him and Conquest have a huge fight at the end, which we'll get to in a bit. Um, what else? And I believe oh yeah. We got a lot of fighting and action in this one. People did not like Thrag's voice at first, but hey, we will eventually get through that. Learned some stuff about Emperor Argol, I guess. We learned about what Thaddeus had done. And yeah, just a lot more character development happening here. Nolan trying to fix some stuff about what was going on. And yeah, the Viltrumites were definitely ready for war. So yeah, great episode. Really enjoyed it. But man, that ending of the episode, like, I was not expecting it to be that intense. Just like I think like just the fight between the rematch between him and Conquest, honestly. Like I don't think anything like that could have been executed in a better limelight. So yeah, just a lot of stuff going on here, right? And so yeah, it was awesome. No, I'm kidding. The that was also in episode 5, right? The fight between him and Conquest. Yeah. Who am I fooling here, man? I'm only fooling myself. And you know, for that reason, I have to give it a 9.5. What a great episode that was, you guys. Done really well. You look rash. Or no, what was it? You look horrible. Decent episode. I guess just spending some time, Nolan and Oliver trying to reconnect, I guess, while they're over there, and then Alan is with Tech Jacket. They're kind of hiding. There's like a stowaway sort of thing going on. And overall, quite a bit happening for sure. So, great episode. I'll give that one 9 out of 10. Definitely enjoyable for sure. But yeah, that's about that. Oh boy. Okay, season 4, episode 7. Don't do anything rash. I'm sorry, you guys, but that episode, for me personally, never been done before. Absolute 10 out of 10. You guys, like, so much fighting, so much action. They destroy Viltrumite planet. We see the talk happen between Thrag and Nolan, who's again, Thrag is not really known for being like punch first, ask questions later kind of guy. He's more composed, he's more thoughtful, he thinks more so. He's definitely not like Conquest, who's just like, like let's kill a few people first and then we'll talk. Like let me eat your heart, and if you're still breathing, we can have a little final chat. He's like, let's think clearly here, right? Because he knows the dire situation. Right? There's not that many pure-blooded Viltrumites left, and not that many, maybe even half-blooded either. I don't know. So yeah, he's like, he truly believes that they can rebuild, that they can fix planet Viltrum from whatever's happening, like with the purge and all that sort of stuff. But Nolan's like, this place is a tomb, and Thrag just doesn't like to hear those words, you know. But he did give him an interesting thing to think about, where he's like, do you really believe that Thetis um would would be fine with just having Mark and Oliver be alive? You don't think he's gonna come for them next? He's probably gonna go after every single Viltrumite. So, they have a little chat. There's some fightings happening as well between the other Viltrumites. And I think Krieg was annoying me, man. I was getting too much of him. I'm glad Conquest was dead. One less guy to worry about. Of course, Oliver was like, you know what, I can fight Thrag. No biggie. Like, I fight Conquest too, man. It's gonna be a piece of cake. Yeah, we all see how that turned out. Um, no, but Tech Jacket and Space Racer were honestly kind of helping out. With Alan himself, I don't think Dude has been able to kill a Viltrumite himself ever. Like, he always kind of needs someone else. Like, dude, Thetis was carrying hard, man. And, yeah, like, Dude was legend, I guess, for that particular episode. So, I do have to hand it to him for what he was doing there. And yeah, they destroyed the planet. And dude, after that, Thrag was not messing around. He's like, all right, let's get down to business. Like, you know, we're ending this right here, right now. And then he kills Thetis. I was wondering if he was gonna kill Thetis or Nolan. One of them was gonna die based off of what people were talking about the episode. How he gets off of like Fraud Watch or whatever. Yeah, but obviously they're saving Nolan off for whatever's to come, I guess. And yeah, Oliver's not dead because they're able to help him out, and Alan and Tech Jacket and everyone else gets back into the ship, and the other Viltrumites, poof, are gone just like that. And then at the end of the episode, Mark says they've gone to Earth, and the episode ends. All right, let's talk about the final episode because I remember that one the most. Don't leave me hanging here. When I just read that title, I was like, cliffhanger, cliffhanger, cliffhanger. Now what happens, right? They go in the ship, which is going towards Earth, right? And Nolan asks Mark, and like, how do you know if they're even there, right? And then Mark asks, well, then where else would they be? And Nolan simply says, well, I don't know. Knows where they could be, like space, galaxy. It's huge. And yeah, once they're going over there, and I think Tech Jacket, she's trying to talk to them, yeah, and they're trying to comfort them, I guess. But yeah, they're in no talking mood, I guess. I guess Oliver was maybe the only person she was comfortable chatting with because I guess they may have been around the same age. I guess I don't know. I believe Oliver might eventually start to age normally. Well, I guess he's gonna become a bit older once, and then kind of just go from there, I guess, because that's sort of what we need from him. But he's probably gonna get stronger as time goes on. I mean, for his age, though, I'm assuming by the time he's Mark's age, he's probably gonna be stronger than how strong he was. Um, and I guess for one reason is he's been fighting and training from a younger age, I guess. And I guess his powers may have kicked in sooner as well. I think that must have been because of his mom's DNA for sure. So I guess that kind of worked out over there. What else? I mean, they grow up so fast. I'm sure Debbie must have literally been seeing that at like 100x speed or something. Anyways, so that happens, and they go to Earth, and once like, they say they're nearby, Mark immediately goes, "Poosh," and he does a quick surveillance and wants to see if there's anything going around, but he's like, yeah, nope, just normal everyday humans going about their normal everyday life. And of course, the first thing we see is like there's some sort of maybe like tornado tsunami thing that the Viltrumites are like setting up over there, but of course none of that was happening. All is in imagination. And dude was really going through some PTSD, man. Post-traumatic stress disorder. It's nothing to joke about, man. And we really see the implications of, like he's been, of course, in fights before, but I don't really think anything shook him up like this before. Like just the intensity of it all, and kind of leaving off in like the sort of stalemate position where we're kind of done fighting for now, right? But more on that later, right? And just getting like so many like triggers and flashbacks, wondering like he's just about to kill someone, right? Like when he goes back home to see his mom Debbie, like he thinks that Thrag is like choking her, right? And he knows that there's nothing really he can do to stop him because he can't beat him. Like even his dad was worried about him, right? Like I remember he told Oliver, I think, however strong you think you are, Thrag was stronger. Line was mentioned in the Thrag teaser. I thought that was a really cool line to mention. Of course, until you saw him, but hey, like, he's no joke, man. He's absolutely no joke. Then, of course, he gets a couple more flashbacks. I think maybe one with Eve as well happening. Oliver's still in the ship, getting whatever cure he needs. Eventually, Nolan comes down as well, and he goes to a particular spot where the famous spot at the end of season one. Think, Morg, think. What will you have after 500 years? All those like lines and things that he said are coming back to him as replaying them in his mind. Of course, Cecil joined him as well. Cause dude, that little thing that they were doing between like Cecil teleporting and all of that, and like Nolan trying to get after him, I thought that was done really well. And I really like that part from season one. Right. So it's back at that particular spot, right? And Nolan was saying, like if it means anything, like I've changed and I'm sorry for what I've done, right? And then Cecil asks him specifically, like Earth or this spot, right? And I think before Nolan said something similar as well. I think that's what he was asking him. And yeah, I believe Cecil mentions, like, yeah, it might count for something, but I'm not really sure what. Nolan says, like, you almost died, and then I think Cecil said, like, tried dying like 3,000 something times, whatever we'll call it even, which I believe was the total number of people who were killed from what happened in Chicago, I guess. And yeah, man, that was brutal. That was definitely something, for sure. That's how we got Powerplex. So, kind of his fault, I guess, maybe. What else? So we got that going on. He goes, chats with Eve, and she mentioned that she didn't end up getting an abortion because I don't think her dad would have been happy to hear about that news. And I guess it makes sense because, I mean, that she didn't go through with the pregnancy, right? Because even if she did, like, who would have been there to help her, I guess? Maybe Debbie and Paul, but I don't know. Like, I guess she just didn't want to go through, like, there'd be any sort of pain or any other issues. Like, I guess she just wasn't ready to be a mother at that age. And I guess, yeah, I mean, maybe that would mean, like, maybe they couldn't fight crime. Like, what, would they just leave the baby at home and not coming back until later, not spend time with it? I don't know. But, anyways, that was Eve's decision. And I guess Mark was like, you know what? Obviously, he was devastated to hear that news. And I thought they do have maybe a son or daughter or whatever in the comics, but they have some sort of child. I don't know if it's true that she did end up getting an abortion in the comics either or not. And I remember it was funny because in the last episode they mentioned how many characters got killed, and I think Eve was one of the only few. I think it was some post I saw online, right? Um, but was it her or was it the person who went through it, or the person who did the abortion for her? I'm not too sure. But yeah, I guess that's what was going on. And yeah, a lot of stuff to think about. A lot of emotional scenes happening as well. I mean, I guess they assumed the war was over, but then Debbie hears, that like um, Oliver got injured and she blames it on Nolan, which, I mean, it was kind of like Oliver being like, yeah, you know what, I can take this drag guy, whatever, which is cool. I really admire his confidence, but yeah, I don't know how well it's gonna end up for him. And hey, man, like that's what ended up happening, I guess. So she and I think Paul had some sort of like breakup happen off screen, which I guess maybe the fact that Paul mentioned himself, like they're from two different worlds, right? I think they were thinking about moving in at some point in time, but with Nolan coming back into play and Paul realizing that, this life's just not really meant for him, but he was glad, like, is able to be part of it, but he convinced Debbie that, she was as much of a part of it as anyone else. Like, from the relationship she had with Nolan to, like, raising strong half blood Viltrumite kids. And yeah, I mean, that was all her, I guess. So, if anything, like, I guess it kind of made sense for her to go, but very dangerous stuff as well. But yeah, so she and Nolan go off into space, I guess. And Tech Jacket reunites with her father, who is in, I guess, the best condition I ever thought he would be in, right? So, nice moment there, I guess. And then, what else is going on? Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff happening. I think Eve tells Mark just, I guess, to, like, take a flight, like, don't worry about anything, like, no stress. 'Cause I guess he hasn't done one in a while or whatever. So, that's what he does. Because I remember she was walking with him, and then we also saw William as well, who I don't really know what to say about him. I really missed William, like, his character from the earlier seasons. I thought he was just a great guy, man. Like, I really liked his character. I don't know if we can really do a lot more with him, but, like, the relationship between he had with Mark, I think, was just awesome, in my opinion. Like, I think maybe they would talk about, like, comics and stuff. Seance Dog, for one. I think they're never gonna bring that up again. But, yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe he can end up becoming Duct Tape Man and save the world with duct tape. Because a lot of use cases for that. Anyways, so eventually he and Cecil have a little talk about, basically what they did is they, you know, well, this is before I took a flight. Like, you kick the bee's nest or whatever, eventually they'll be very angry and want to strike harder than ever. And then, of course, going through a lot of PTSD for sure. And he's wondering, like, if there's something he can have to, like, calm him down, like maybe he should see someone. And then he goes, takes a flight, and then we see Thrag. And this time, it's not fake. Because I remember each time I saw him, like, kill someone, I'm like, there's no way. There's literally no way. But this time I was like, I don't know. Could be it. And then he said, yes, we are here, something which I think might be a line from the comics. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But then he's there and basically tells Mark that you basically have two options. Well, really one. One option is that we, the remaining Viltrumites, go to Earth and live lives like normal human beings. Will be disguised, will wear your clothes. You will not affect any of the stuff happening on Earth in any sort of way. We'll just be here, going about our ordinary lives. And I guess try to increase their population, who I guess, and once they do so, maybe they'll go back to, their own ways and believing what they believe in. But, again, sort of a stalemate for now sort of thing. Otherwise, they fight, which, the Viltrumites will probably win, considering how strong Thrag really is. And yeah, Mark, at first was being very conflicted, but then was like, yeah, he had to give in to the offer. And then he asks him, like, what have I done? But I think in a way, Thrag kind of, like, respected his decision, saying, like, you saved the lives of a lot of people, and that kind of counts for something. And this really made me think about Thrag, how, again, he's nothing like Conquest at all for sure. Like, he thinks big picture, long term sort of thing. He's more realistic. He's a firm believer in his cause, And I think that's sort of what adds that extra layer to him, where, he really plans things out. And is somewhat, in a way, reasonable to talk with. But not a good guy by any means, other than that. Overall, I didn't really hate the episode. I wouldn't really call it filler. In my opinion, the only filler episode of this entire season for me was season 4, episode 4. Man, they said that word so many times, man. Like, the jokes and comedy in that one didn't land too well. And then I think we see like we saw Debbie and Nolan. They were in space. I think Nolan was about to like try to reach his arm across to touch her shoulder at first, maybe. But dude, I was like, nah, man. What are you doing here? And I don't know if Debbie noticed like what he was trying to do. But anyways, the only post credit scene that we do get for this episode is Alan reads like I guess some sort of like last message that was sent to him because I guess he was taking over Thetis' job to leave the coalition of planets or whatever thing that they have going on. And Thetis says, you know, like if I'm dead, that probably means that the Viltrumites may have had some sort of upper hand and used the Scourge virus to finish what I started. Which, if I'm not mistaken, right, will I guess wipe out the Viltrumites, maybe people who have similar DNA, so maybe that means humans as well. So not only might it affect Nolan, but it might also affect Mark and Oliver, who I guess are maybe like the only two sort of like, besides Nolan, I guess, good Viltrumites left who are trying to stop the other ones. So, yeah, it's interesting to see that. And I don't know if Earth themselves will be ready to take Nolan back either. Like, I don't know if they explained what happened um to like Nolan, like what the other people thought. Like, did they say like he died or something? Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I don't know if Art would be willing to make him a new suit. And I think he's also voiced by Mark Hamill, isn't it? Right? You got a lot of famous voice actors for sure in the show. If only some of that money went to decent animation. I know we get one season every year, but come on, like what are we doing here, you guys? You know, like a little bit better. And it's not true that there's only four people who are doing the animation. That's only for like a certain team, whatever. Like maybe like the post production visual effects or like lighting and composition team, maybe, which maybe leads to like certain impact frames. But other than that, I'm not too sure. Anyways, I think that's about it. Overall, decent episode. I think I was gonna give that one for what it was. Solid 8 out of 10. Yeah, I think I'd be happy with that. Alright, you guys, ready for the final rating? Alright, if I do the math right, that comes out to an 8.25 out of 10 in total. It's not a bad number, really. So I'd round that down to an 8 out of 10 overall, which is not too bad for the rating of the season. I definitely enjoyed it, and let me know what you guys thought of the season overall in the comments below. Definitely some possibilities for season 5. Maybe the Scourge virus might come into play, maybe as a last resort. But again, if it affects humans, like I don't think Cecil would try to use it, even though he probably wants them gone as well. We saw that he was trying to help bring back Robot and Monster Girl. I think another possibilities. Robot sort of becoming maybe controlling in some sort of way, maybe more arrogant. I don't know. Like he does things in his mind which he thinks is sort of for the betterment of society, even though it might be bad. Maybe like an Lex Luthor or what's the other guy's name, Brainiac type of way from the DC world. Not too sure. And I think some dinosaur stuff as well we might be teasing, and a lot of other storylines are possible from the comics. A lot of characters who may be set up, a lot of potential stuff could happen. So looking forward to seeing where that takes us. And yeah, is the Viltrumite war gonna pick up again? Who knows? Anyways, you guys, that's it. I'm out. You can wish us reactor will be back next time. Peace.